Okay, I'm ready as well. So I'm Natetheman223. I've been making tool-assisted speedruns for about 2 years now. I just want to say thank you guys for your patience throughout all this, but I assure you, this is all worth it. So I have this tool-assisted speedrun of Green Goblin here. We can start it immediately here in 3, 2, 1, go. So, like I said before, I hope everyone was able to hear me, but this is a tool-assisted speedrun of the Green Goblin mode in Spider-Man 2002. So most people actually don't know about this mode because you have to beat the game on hard to unlock it, and most people aren't a huge fan of this game. But anyway, it has a ton of potential. You're super fast. You have super strong weapons. You have bombs, a glider, everything. So, much like the Spider-Man speedrun, this whole first level, all you just have to do is defeat these 6 enemies located around, and then you can move on to these 2 enemies right in the corner of the map. When you defeat them, normally there's a cutscene that plays if you're playing as Spider-Man, but if you're playing as Green Goblin, it's just skipped. So you just like pelt them with knives and then just refuse to elaborate and then leave. Absolute Chad move. So what happens from then on is we've made it to the warehouse. The glider is really fast, but it's really, really hard in interiors because it has very low maneuverability. So I've done my best to go fast. But in times where I can't use the glider, I sprint with this specific button. I mean, it's not particularly hard. You just hold Y. But anyway, by defeating all of these enemies very fast, we can just completely sequence break the level. There's an enemy up here who is supposed to run away, and he has a key, but you can just take him out without him running away and move on to the end of the level. So in this last little room, there's just these 4 enemies, and then 3 more come out. And once you've defeated all of them, you just move right on. You just leave. That seems to be a common trend in this speedrun, is just to, like, kill everyone and then just go. So we're moving on to the 3rd level, featuring Uncle Ben's killer. But we're playing as Green Goblin, so we have no idea who this guy is. He's just a thug with a shotgun to us. So on our way to him, we fly past hordes of enemies, but this room specifically, you have to fight at least 5 of them to get the key to move on. So we can use our glider, miniguns, bombs, our knives, and our sprint just to completely melt this thug, this anonymous thug's health bar. So this guy, Uncle Ben's killer, doesn't really help us, so we just move on to fly around in the city, I guess. The Green Goblin story is really weird and surreal. So normally this level, you would have to take some pictures of yourself as Spider-Man, but as Green Goblin, it just skips that and just moves on to the robots. If you fly against this wall and spawn razor bats, the robots spawn right below you, and you can drop bombs on them and just defeat them all at once. I'm still not completely sure how this works, but it does. And it sure is convenient. So, those were actually Oscorp drones, which is weird. Oscorp drones, we are literally Harry Osborn. Like, they should not be sending those after us. Anyway, we're moving on to the subway station. The first introduction level with Shocker. But we don't get to fight him yet, we just have to take out all these thugs. If we fly or hover in the specific location and look this way, the thugs just spawn right in front of us, and we can just bomb them all, no problem. We move on to the side room. There's 3 more enemies to defeat. We can defeat them quickly and then fly up here. There's 2 enemies that spawn below us, but just by dropping bombs, you can take them out preemptively. Then we have to save the civilian and move over to the next group of enemies. And yeah, of course, we can just use our glider to take care of them quickly. This whole level is just like a combat exhibition, but with bombs. So we use our glider, much like earlier, just by looking in a specific direction, the enemies can spawn in a very specific location, and we can just take them out super duper fast. Normally, there's like 10 enemies there, and it takes at least like 15 to 20 seconds to defeat them, but it took us like 5. So moving on to the sewer level, this level has a nice big new skip in it, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So to start it off, there is a thug in this main room who has a key. We can just, of course, use our knives and our bombs to just take care of him quickly and move on. Then we can activate these 2 switches to move on to the next room. Just, unlock this door. Followed by that, we move on to this big room. This guy named FaZe found out that if your glider is parallel to a corner and you just descend, you can go through walls. But under very specific circumstances. It doesn't really work in a lot of levels. Then we can just fly through this door because our glider is insanely fast, but there's only a couple specific doors we can fly through. This being one of them is extremely convenient because it skips an entire session of thug bashing, which is really nice because it takes a little too long for my liking. In this level, where we followed Shocker into the railway system, and normally you have to like dodge his blasts, but the glider is just so insanely fast that it literally doesn't matter. We can just fly straight toward him. And the speed also allows us to just fly through this rubble and access the Shocker fight a lot sooner than intended. Of course, we can just use our bombs to take care of Shocker and our sprint, and he just like falls over. Rest in peace, Shocker. He might be dead. There's nothing confirming that he's not dead. But anyway, we move on to our next target on our hit list, Vulture. To track Vulture, we just have to complete this level where we climb up his tower, his clock tower. Normally, as Spider-Man, you would like web zip through this whole section super fast, but as Green Goblin, instead you just blow up any obstacles in your way with bombs. And you can also use your glider weapons to destroy the stairways in your way, so you can just fly straight up, no problem. It's great. This brings us to our next level, which is where we essentially just follow Vulture through the city. It's kind of an auto-scroller, but if you stay close to Vulture, it's not a big deal because he moves a lot faster. Especially as Green Goblin, because Green Goblin is so fast that you can stay super close to him. Super close. And he moves just insanely fast, comparatively. So our Razorbats have this ability to just fix stuff, so maybe we should put some of those on the world economy, but instead we use them on this billboard. So the billboard gets fixed and we can continue chasing Vulture, and then we move on to another structure that Vulture damages, and we can just use our Razorbats to fix that as well. No big deal, no big deal. And then just follow Vulture for the remainder of the level. He actually slows down here for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I was never able to get around it despite my rigorous testing. But thankfully he speeds right back up, so yeah, there's only a couple seconds left of the level. So we've successfully tracked Vulture through the city. It was not that hard. And now we can actually finally take him on mano-a-mano. The thing about Vulture is that he has this little shield, and then when you break his shield, he just goes to land on the building to recover his shield. But that's your chance to take him out. Normally, he would like fly back up after you do enough damage, but using our bombs, knives, miniguns, and everything in between, we can just finish him off in a single cycle. Just kamikaze right into him. It's amazing. This next level is the first. It's the introduction to Scorpion. There are 10 spiders around this parking lot, this underground parking lot, and I've learned where they are, so I was able to navigate between them all. I'm not like you know, skivvy-daddling about trying to look for them. I know where they all are, and I can take out several of them at a time. And of course, our bombs, our knives, and everything else helps us to destroy them all very quickly. So now Scorpion has turned against us, you know, being a few sandwiches short of a picnic. He just doesn't get it. So we are spawned right next to him with all our ammo, and he doesn't really stand much of a chance. I hope everyone enjoyed that level. It was exactly 3 seconds. But basically what we did is we sprinted into him to knock him over, and then summoned our glider, and then just dropped our carpet bombs on him while he was laying down, and then sprinted into him again while he was like flying through the air to finish him off. So anyway, we've moved on to our introduction to Green Goblin. The opposing Green Goblin, the enemy Green Goblin. So this level, it's a lot like an auto-scroller, maybe almost worse than an auto-scroller. Basically, you get his health down to certain amounts, and then he moves on to certain locations in the city to try and destroy them. And then you just use your Razorbats to repair them. Again, you know, no big deal. So we're patiently waiting for him to arrive. He tries to destroy the radio tower, but our Razorbats are already in place. So we can just go and push him into the next health bracket for him to need to move on. So we can fly around the city. Hey, look at this panda. That's actually the balloon from earlier that Mary Jane was stranded on at the beginning of the level. But it just, like, falls through the building for whatever reason, which is great. We can micromanage our glider's heat level to ensure that we can boost for as long as we want and move at maximum speed. So Green Goblin finally arrives at this bridge over here that he again tries to destroy, but thankfully we have our Razorbats, and then we can move him into the next health bracket again, and we can finish him off. So the thing is, if you kill Green Goblin early, you freeze the level. You soft lock the level. You break it. You can't sequence break it. You would have to restart the level. But just for that last part, you can finish him off and just watch him fall into the city. This next level has a pretty big skip in it as well. Yeah. So what you have to do for this is you have to knock Goblin off his glider and then fight him hand to hand. We've already knocked him off his glider. It only took us like 1 second. And then we move on to fight him on foot. But we have our glider because we're cheeky little nuggets. So I can actually finish him off here by flying at him at high speed and shooting the glider knives at him. Normally, he would get back onto his glider and you'd have to fight him for like another 30 seconds, and it's really annoying, but thankfully we can just skip all that shenanigans. This next level, it's all movement. Essentially, there are a couple bombs around the city, and you have to disarm them. Of course, as Green Goblin, it is just simply trivial because the glider is just so insanely fast. It's actually... The glider at full speed is about 3 times faster than Spider-Man's web swinging at full speed in this game, which is just insane. So, like I said, this level, insanely trivial. All you have to do is disarm the bombs. There's one of them, then there's 2, then there's 3, and then for this last part you only have to disarm 1, and it was right back at the start of the level.
I can't believe I'm relieved.
So that wraps up this level, Race Against Time, and we get to move on to go and see Green Goblin again. So unfortunately, we will not actually be fighting Green Goblin this time. He will instead just be throwing Razorbats at us, because he has his own, and they're extremely weak, and they come in groups, so we can just throw our bombs at them, and they don't stand a chance. We have to destroy 50 of them to complete the level, and they come in groups of 16. So, of course, we destroyed our first group, we just destroyed our second group, and then he spawns his third group of them right here. So we only have to destroy 2 more, but the next batch comes in 16, so we'll be destroying a few extra, not that it really matters.
Just yet.
So there's not really a way to speed up how quickly he spawns the Razor Bats, so you just have to wait patiently. And now that they're all destroyed, we can move on to the end of the level. We figured out that the Razor Bats have some sort of like Oscorp logo on them. And so we need to infiltrate Oscorp. Which is kind of funny because we are Harry Osborn. We can just go inside. We don't have to like break in and enter. But we do anyway because we're freaking Sigma males. So it turns out this level is supposed to be stealth focused, but the guards are kind of, I don't know, maybe impaired is the word, but they have a lot of trouble detecting you. There are several computers located around the offices. They have each just a part of this password. It's not really hard to figure out. There's just a gradient in the like the little squares at the bottom. It doesn't matter what order you acquire them in, but what does matter is the order that you put them in at the end of the level. We're acquiring all these so we can go on through this blast door up here, the one with the lasers in front of it. We put the password in, and we can move right on. So this next level is kind of hilarious in just how much time it's saved. There was a YouTube comment on the previous tool-assisted speedrun I made with Green Goblin that said like, oh, just hold the fly button when you start the level and you can fly through walls. And I thought, no way. But here it is. You hold the fly button when the level starts, and you boost, and you just go through everything. So this saves a ton of time, but we can't sequence break the level with it. You have to get chemicals A, B, and then deposit them, and then go and get chemicals C, D, and deposit them to finish the level. If you go and get C, D first, you're not supposed to get them first, but I guess they accounted for that, and you just fail the level if that happens, and you have to start over. So we grabbed A, B, turned them in. We just grabbed C, D, turned them in. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So moving on from here, we're going deeper into Oscorp. Even it's still funny to me that we broke in despite the fact that we own the company. So anyway, this next level, there's 10 generators around the room, and we have to destroy all of them to be able to destroy this giant robot. So, of course, we can use our bombs, trusty knives, everything, and this disables the shield on the robot's brain, and then we can just shoot the robot's brain with our miniguns and just finish it off quickly and easily. That level is actually like a casual killer because they usually just don't know what to do, but oh well. So now we're escaping Oscorp. We literally broke in, destroyed their biggest weapon, and then just leave. So this is the level from earlier with the passcodes, but backwards. And instead of using the computers, all we have to do is escape. We can destroy that glass to prevent having to disable the security systems, which saves a ton of time. And then we can go through this pretty big blast door and just fly our way to the exit. Easy as that. So this next level, unfortunately, is like a true auto-scroller. There's only one thing you can do to speed it up, but it's not really desirable. So Green Goblin flies around the city, and you're supposed to follow him. When he plants those like flying circular bombs, if you're close to him when he does that, he just stops in place and then moves on once they're placed. But if you're far enough away, he doesn't stop, so you just stay as far away as possible. He doesn't rubber band like any kind of like chases should, so I just kind of follow him around. Hey, look, a barrel. Ow. I have no idea why that barrel is flying right there, but I thought it would be hilarious to get hit by it. So moving on from there, we can actually just attempt to escape the level just by flying at the out of bounds section. but the game just forces us back in. There is a height limit in this level, and it is directly tied to how high up the opposing Green Goblin is. But if you're playing as Green Goblin, you can just ignore it completely. I assume the developers did this because they wanted like the first section of the level to be you navigating around the buildings like a maze, and then the second part of the level to be you moving on top of the buildings instead, so that way, you know, they get more bang for their buck. But as a result, the level just ends up feeling kind of stale, but thankfully it's almost over. So we just have to follow him for this next little bit. He plants a few more bombs. We can easily avoid him because we're 1,000 miles away from him. And then we move on to the finale. So, normally for this level, I love that word, normally, because we don't do anything normal in a tool-assisted speedrun. Normally, you have to save Mary Jane from the bridge and then fight Green Goblin. But as you see, we literally just fly away from Mary Jane, completely ignore her, and go straight to Green Goblin. We use our trusty knives and our trusty bombs, pelt him with everything we have, and he's done for, toasted. And there's no end cutscene as Green Goblin, so there's no reason to believe that MJ didn't just, like, die on the bridge. It's kind of sick. So that was the tool-assisted speedrun of Spider-Man 2002 in 20 minutes and 30 seconds. I was super happy to show this off. I want to say thank you to License-a-thon for having me. And without any further ado, I can hand this over to the next runner.